Hi there, I'm the Complex Games Apologist, and today we're going to try and slice up the color pie of Harnic magic. I'm going to try and describe to you the unique elemental worldview which informs how the magic users of Harn study their art, and indeed how philosophers of Harn look at the world. And I will begin now.
The issues of cosmic perspective, where we are, who we are, where we come from.
Here's the rub, folks. In our modern world, we've lost that understanding of elemental description of the world. Aristotle and Plato described things in terms of earth, air, wind, fire, and water. In the Chinese ancient time and going into today, there's this thing called Taoism. There's two elements, yin and yang, generativity and decay, male and female. There are all these different qualities that are ascribed to the elements, but because they're elemental, and everything ends up getting sorted atomically into these categories, it's difficult for us with a materialistic and scientific worldview.
I do not believe that is correct.
To embrace them without understanding them as cultural ideas. But we'll begin. You know the 5 slices of Captain Planet. You know, the 4 fundamental elements that we know well from fantasy gaming plus heart, and you know also of the division of elements in Legend of the Five Rings, similar with the addition of void to the mix. There was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where they delineated an elemental set of principles.
Rock, fire, sky, and water are the basic elements of the universe. They can be found in every object, every animal, every person, everything.
Well, Harn has its own hexagonal orientation of what the elements are. And it informs everything, straight down to the way that their tarot is set up. Scrolls, the idea of knowledge, Saphoria, the idea that the Platonic concept of something is more fundamental than its reality, that imagining and writing down and cataloging something begets its reality rather than in opposite. Cups, water, unlife, stasis, stillness, darkness. Yeah, I know. Do those things really go together for us? No, but they do the way that Harnic magic is understood. Keep in mind, keep studying this glyph of the 6 elements and how they relate to one another. This is not unlike Magic the Gathering's 5-slice pie, in that if you are on the opposite side, these elements are opposed. And when you begin learning magic, you attune to one of them. Alright, let's continue. Swords, Jmorvi. Matter, artifice. The magic is slow, the magic is about crafting. This is the magic that, of course, we know all dwarves, or any dwarf that makes things, is surely at least acquainted with. Flames, Pel'an, passion. This is the essence of Gandalf's Ring of Fire, but it is also dynamism. It is unexpectedness, it is combustion, it is the heat inside of a sun, formation, and so much more. Wands, Pvâric, life, growth, groundedness in the reality of matter, and yet all that matter can create and generate, given the processes that it exists here in the world. This one is easy to understand. This is the one that healing magic exists in. This is the magic that a druid will be well practiced in. And do well to think of how this is also, given the way this pie is set up, the place where any Frankenstein and romantic efforts will probably end up taking place under, because that's how it is. If you're manipulating life, then that's where it's going to end up. Pentacles. This one is difficult. Sorcery, ambiguity, creativity, illusion, there, not there-ness. The idea that experience is only subjective. Liavhi, light, the dark side of the moon, or rather the album cover, that chaotic landscape of clocks that we know well from that album. That's what Liavhi is, I guess. The point is that to really start experiencing Harnic magic is to start experiencing an entirely different way of looking at the world. And they do not follow these things religiously. Indeed, to be a Sheikh Pvâr, one is a student of philosophy, and one of the goals is, if you are devoted to your craft, to become a gray mage, a master of all these forces. Because as you attune to one of these elements, you sacrifice the ability to manipulate its opposites. And so you get very specialized and interesting casters of identity. The reasons and the motivations for what the Sheikh Pvâr are up to in Harn is something that I will cover in another video. But for now, I wanted to really challenge you, to really get you thinking about these 6 elements and how to embrace them. Spellcasting in Harn is one of channeling these forces as you go about your learning process for Harnic magic, that you're going to need to do this free association. You're going to need to reorient your worldview into this hexagonal understanding of nature. We look at the world as fermions and bosons and the 4 fundamental forces, and now we're looking at the possibility that there's gauge bosons. That's what a Sheikh Pvâr is. He's a practitioner like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like Brian Greene, like Richard Feynman, like Carl Sagan. He is plumbing the mysteries of the cosmos. They are experiencing a quest towards oneness as they want to become a gray mage. Maybe they'll get there, maybe they won't. An important disclaimer here. Harnic magic, through the lens of the Sheikh Pvâr, is not the same and shares nothing in common with Harnic religion. Religion is meant to be mysterious, miraculous. That's a whole other side of the coin, an occult one, a mysterious one, a reverent and beautiful one that we will cover in a future video. I will talk more about what the goals of the Sheikh Pvâr are, what it means to be one, and why they are so little mentioned in the canon of Harn. But for now, have an excellent afternoon. Meditate on the 6 elements. I'm the Complex Games apologist.
Are you alright?
Yes, but I do not agree with Delors' assessment. Although I do have gaps in my memory, I know that fire is not an element.
You are listening